Welcome to Register, the podcast of the Catholic Register, where we'll be taking a look beyond the headlines of the stories that grace all of our platforms this past week. I'm Quinton Amundson, the Associate Editor of the Catholic Register, alongside reporter Luke Mandato. This episode is brought to you by the digital edition of the Catholic Register. Go to catholicregister.org to sign up for your trial subscription at no cost, no obligation. And our regular co-host, Mickey Conlon, is away today. He's putting the final touches on a special project we've been working on for months. We really look forward to telling you all about it in the coming weeks. Well, Luke, it was a year ago today that Pope Leo XIV first emerged onto the balcony in St. Peter's Basilica. White smoke emanated from the chimney a little bit earlier. We had a new pope in the world, and you were surrounded by thousands of Christians and other pro-life advocates at Parliament Hill in Ottawa. That was quite a surreal experience for you. What do you really recall a year later about that moment?
Yeah, thanks, Quinton. I love getting the chance to tell this story. It was, I think, absolutely surreal. Looking back on it, of course, I was on the Hill to cover that March for Life with the Catholic Register. It was actually one of the first sort of, go boots to the ground, kid, get out there and get us something good opportunities for me with the Register. So I was excited. I was nervous. I was on the scene. I was talking to people before the event started, and even before the news broke, you could just get this sense of excitement. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that when we look at this year's event. But as you had mentioned, I think it was just during one of the opening remarks from one of the Campaign Life Coalition activists there that this buzz started going around the grounds there on Parliament Hill. It was kind of surreal. The papal election is such a big thing, and we knew that there was a chance that it might happen, but we didn't, we were so busy giving our thought and attention to the march that it kind of slipped me. But I was seeing, groups of high schoolers sort of gather around one phone and go, "Oh, who is it? Where's he from? What? No." And then they'd run to another group, and then I would see a group of CWL women kind of gathered around and saying the similar things. And being the reporter there, I have to admit, Quinton, the idea of sweeping the scene kind of left my mind. I wasn't looking for things to cover or people to talk to. I was going on my own phone to see what I was missing. And actually, I think sure enough, it was a text from Mickey Conlon, our editor, who of course isn't here today, who basically said, we're gonna have a busy day ahead of us. So do what you got to do, and then we should probably find a cafe to get to and get something online for our many readers. So yeah, it was just absolutely surreal to have it break on that day. With the air of excitement that was already around the event, to add something that important and that big to the Catholic and Christian community was just amazing to be a part of.
It's absolutely phenomenal, and I know that everybody was just so intrigued by having this historical event, take place and coincide. But I know this year there is a bit of an appetite in wanting to make sure the message of the pro-life really gets back to the forefront here, because as exciting as that was, they had to kind of share the spotlight a little bit. But I mean, of course, campaigning for the sanctity of life, both at birth and, with natural death, is very important to so many of our people around the world and in Canada. And Campaign Life Coalition really wants to make this one of the best marches for life yet. You've had a chance to talk to some of the organizers. What could people look forward to for this year?
Yeah, great question, Quinton. Yes, I spoke to Josie Lukey. She's the Director of Education and Advocacy for Campaign Life Coalition. And like you said, she kind of chuckled when I brought up that story that I had just recounted here on Registered. She had first said she thought it was also super cool that the teenagers were huddling around their phones and awaiting that announcement, the official announcement, when the rumors started to stir. And she said it sort of added to the air of excitement, but absolutely they are looking to get back to the forefront this year and really bring that central message of pro-life to the forefront. And there's lots of things that people can look forward to. So it's beginning on May 12th. It has a great theme this year. Quinton, follow me, of course, drawn from Matthew 4:19. which kind of is I don't want to say a stab, but a highlight of some of the complacency that surrounds Canadian pro-lifers. And, we're no exception to that, about having this renewed commitment to follow me, to go to Parliament Hill, to take action and advocacy, and just be attentive of the things that are taking place in society at large here in Canada. Apart from that, of course, the annual gathering is going to be 2 days later on May 14th. That's the main Parliament Hill march through downtown Ottawa, of course, in the nation's capital. But each year there's lots of things people can look forward to. May 12th is going to kick off with a Songs for Life coffee house performance at St. Francis Assisi Parish down there. There's going to be Holy Mass at St. Teresa's Church. They're going to be doing the annual candlelight vigil for victims of abortion. Of course, I mentioned May 14th being the main day with the march, which really, if any of our listeners haven't had a chance to be a part of it, is an unbelievable experience to just be really in this human wave, this massive humanity taking to the streets. You see sometimes other examples of this, but it's usually in a protester form that I've noticed, at least when a whole sort of street is taken over. There's none of that violence. There's none of that, the words escaping me, vitriol maybe. There's none of that anger about the march. It's this very sort of peaceful, they understand why we're there. There's maybe a bit of unease about the current situation, of course, that things like this have to take place, but it really is it's a joyous moment, if anything else, I would say, from my experience being a part of it. So that's going to be taking place on the 14th. This year, they're also holding the free pro-life expo, and of course the ever popular Rose Dinner Gala at the Ottawa Conference and Events Center that evening. So there's a lot going on. There's going to be some great speakers we can cover. Of course, Alex Schadenberg from Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, and Alice Primps of Movement for Children and Families, who's going to bring even further attention to the current Canadian pro-life landscape. All the big names are going to be there, Quinton. It's always such a great sort of few days of events and planning. And I recommend any of our listeners that are interested, whether that's their first time or their 12th time going, to look out for it. It's great.
Well, you mentioned Alex Schadenberg, and I had a talk with him yesterday because on Tuesday night he got to address the special joint committee on MAID, and he definitely feels that the tide is turning and there is an increased appetite among Canadians of many different backgrounds to pump the brakes on just ever expanding MAID regime. And a guy that really made a big difference is this Alice, who's coming from Slovenia. He is perhaps one of the more effective activists in getting projects across the finish line. So he probably could provide some good instructions on how to put boots to the ground and make some change happen here. Because as much as a lot of you were mentioning, Luke, that a lot of people just don't maybe want to get into the fight, they feel disenchanted. It's like, oh, well, can we really make Canada more pro-life? It feels like these issues were settled decades ago. It seems like we're not going to get anywhere. Maybe there is an opportunity with some euthanasia reform in this country. So this could actually be very powerful. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And it goes back to Josie's message when we were speaking together, the theme of follow me. She said a lot of people maybe are sort of disillusioned by the current situation. I'm sure it's taken its toll on a lot of people, especially over the past few years. Her message was simple: just go, be a part of it. If change is going to happen, even when, parliamentarians may not necessarily listen directly, or you feel like it's an uphill battle, which, if we're being honest, it really is for pro-lifers in this country. Just go, be a part of it. If something's going to happen, it's going to be at a place like the National March for Life. You can't get a grander stage. You can't get more pro-lifers in Canada in one spot, and in an important spot outside of the steps of Parliament Hill. So no matter what the feeling is personally around the topic, and even if it's one that's disillusioned and a bit disheartened, be there, be supportive of it, listen to the speakers, take action, use your voice. This is the time to do it. That's what I've found so intriguing about the National March for Life, is there really is no bigger opportunity and event in Canada than this, to make that happen.
And anything worthwhile in life requires a struggle, sometimes a great struggle. So, as we really await to see the National March for Life advocates, really put forth a message of the growth of the human family, we also had a story this past week about the Alpha program, which is about growing church communities. And in case you don't know, Alpha is an 11-week program that churches adopt that teaches the basics of Christianity. And every one of these sessions, it has really good educational videos that really break down the foundational principles of the faith. There's small group discussion, and there's a good group meal to have some good fellowship involved. And I had a talk with Father Mike Leclerc from St. Ignatius of Loyola Parish in Montreal, and his church has really become a hub and a beacon for this type of program. They do it 3 times a year, so 33 weeks out of 52, so pretty ambitious indeed. And they have been able to get so many young people in particular that have never stepped into a church for many years or who have walked away and maybe want to come back to learn. And then they get really intrigued. They then maybe take a few more steps to join the church, and just the cascading positive effects. The parish community has grown so much that they used to have 30 dedicated followers, and now they have volunteers, and now they have over 150 to 200 volunteers. Their money has definitely improved in terms of the revenue generated. And additionally, now they're adding more masses to their calendar because there's so many more people attending church. They have a capacity of 600 people, but they had 1,000 people show up to Easter Mass. And they credit this program as their chief evangelization tool to make it happen. And, additionally, while some parishes may want to use this type of program to bolster the religious strength of the people that are all going to church, you want to be able to use it to bring new sheep into the flock. And Luke, I understand that you also see the potential in Alpha for bringing people back into the fold.
Absolutely, Quinn. And in your story, there's this great line. It's this idea of embracing that divine renovation principle of being a parish in mission, in missionary mode, rather than just being a place of stagnation. That really, to me, sums up what a program like Alpha is all about. It's something where, I'm very involved in my faith. I'm sure I know you are as well, Quentin. I'm sure many of our listeners are, but I couldn't have imagined a better sort of program available for people that aren't. If I wasn't, this is something that I would be very interested in. The way it's broken down, the way it's easily accessible and approachable. I think the church needs something like that, and to see the growth of it has been very encouraging, of course, especially in this parish here. But we've seen these pop up all over the province and all over the country, especially here in Ontario. I feel like every other sort of event listing we click on is an Alpha event taking place at a parish, which is incredible to see. And when you were recounting it there, Quentin, look at all the different areas of parish life that this benefits and touches. It's not just evangelization. Of course, it's a fantastic evangelization tool, but it really is about parish renewal at its core. These are people that are attending Mass now. These are people that are asking questions, that are looking to attend different events. Maybe they're sparked by the fellowship aspect of it. There's so many great things about our faith, and to have something that can kind of lay those out in a very simple way without getting too into the nitty gritty details that quite honestly might scare a lot of people off if they're new to the faith, or might maybe shy them away from attending a second event or a second part of the program. To have something that really is about fellowship, that's about asking the right questions, that's about really just diving in head first. I think we need something like that, and to have something like that, it's amazing that we're able to celebrate it. I really did appreciate the article, and I'm sure there was a lot you learned as well about similar aspects of that.
Well, I just am very grateful that people recognize the moment that we're in. And I had an opportunity to go to a renewal conference recently in Calgary, and Bishop Scott McCaig of the Military Ordinariate was speaking, and very compelling man. And he just laid it out what so many people are saying. We are not in Christendom anymore. We can't be complacent because our government institutions and our cultural institutions are no longer oriented towards Christian morality and values. Like we have to be like those early Christians and be willing to step outside of our comfort zone, whether it be knocking on doors, bringing people to the church. We have to be evangelizers if we want to bring another big wave of Christianity. And it looks like we're seeing the fruits of those efforts already playing out. You and I have both written so many stories of various different stripes over the past few years about the renewal of the faith. This is a very exciting time. And I think a program like Alpha, especially during those years of the pandemic where everything had to be online, it was huge. It was just absolutely massive what they were able to do because people were looking for that communion and they were yearning for to be brought together. So Alpha being used very well. I'd like to see more parishes go down that road, and we're very excited to see where this goes in the coming years. And something also that's very exciting that's taking place right now, very appropriate for May, the month of Mary. There is a Marian statue tour that Toronto and Hamilton Catholics can look forward to. Luke, tell us about your conversation with the groups planning this very exciting event.
Yes, this one is exciting, Quinton, and like you said, perfect for the month of May, the month of Mary. So faithful from across Toronto and Hamilton are going to have this great opportunity from May 9th to the 17th to take advantage of Canada's National Shrine of Our Lady of the Cape, originating in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. The tour is going to be coming to different parishes throughout the Toronto Diocese, Archdiocese, and the Hamilton Diocese. And this is sort of something, Quinton, when I looked at it, I admittedly wasn't all too familiar with Our Lady of the Cape, and I'm not sure many people outside of Quebec are. I'm sure there are many that are very involved with it and know all about it. I was not one of them. So this was an exciting story. I think it's always exciting when you get a story that you're also sort of learning about it on the go as well. And this was just an incredible story, of course. They're going to be bringing this Marian statue, this replica statue of the Our Lady of the Cape Marian statue that sits in the old shrine in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. As the story goes, Quinton, it was about June of 1888 that Marian statue, the same one that sits in the old shrine church now, had relocated from the alcove to above the altar. And while praying in the church that evening, it was three different priests, actually two priests and one parishioner, that had reported of seeing that statue open its eyes. And they say that it remained that way for 5 to 10 minutes. They even moved about the parish, about the church, to make sure that it wasn't an optical illusion. And all three reported that statue had its eyes open and remained that way for about 10 minutes. So through this event, and another closely linked event known as the Miracle of the Ice Bridge, which I encourage our readers to take the full look at. This Our Lady of the Cape statue became one of Canada's main pilgrim statues. It's known as the Queen of Canada, and it's become really just a hidden sort of gem of the Canadian Catholic scene and the Canadian Catholic pilgrimage scene. So these tours have been going on for years now. I spoke with Father Wenner Berard, who is the pilgrimage director for Our Lady of the Cape. He's been doing these tours himself for about, I think he said 12 or so years now. And he just absolutely loves it. It's taken him to places across Canada, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Detroit, New York, Boston, Philadelphia. He's even gone international to places like Naples and Italy, bringing the replica of this Marian statue and just giving the people the opportunity for veneration, for prayer, for time with Mother Mary, praying the rosary. It's really incredible what he's been able to do and the way he's been able to cultivate Marian devotion through this magnificent story. And of course, I'm in no way doing the story justice. I really recommend our listeners to give the article a read on catholicregister.org, because it is just phenomenal. And there's a candlelight procession. The crowning of the statue is another major part of the event. And as you said at the beginning, Quinton, to do this in May and the month of Mary, it is the perfect time, I think, for people in Ontario here in the Hamilton and Toronto area to take advantage of this.
Well, I'm going to give some free publicity to Canadian Catholic filmmaker Kevin Dunn. He did that Bridge of Roses documentary about Our Lady of the Cape, and it is phenomenal. I got to do a few stories a few years ago, and the miracle of the ice bridge is just a phenomenal story to think about. Like these people praying at the riverbank, and it was just so unseasonal, but then all these chunks of ice just come down out of nowhere, and they're able to transport the statue of Our Lady of the Cape from one side to the other. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I mean, these are stories that sustain and enliven our faith. And I definitely encourage you to, after you read Luke's article, yeah, go to Kevin Dunn's documentary. It's on YouTube. It's anywhere that you want to see it. So it would just be great to be in awe because that's one thing that we sometimes maybe just don't really take for granted is there is a lot of awe and wonder in our faith. For these types of stories are absolutely incredible to read for sure. That takes us to the end of this episode of Registered. I'd like to thank you, Luke, for joining me, to you, the people out there tuning in, and of course, this week's sponsor, the digital edition of the Catholic Register. Go to CatholicRegister.org to sign up for your trial subscription at no cost, no obligation. And also go to the website to keep on top of all the Catholic news at home and around the world. So long for now.